Each game system has rules and structure for gaining experience. In some games, you gain experience from collecting treasure and killing monsters, and in others, you gain experience from completing objectives and goals set by the Dungeon Master, referred to as milestone leveling. Which one is better? Let's discuss it today on Loki's Lair. I think I speak for everyone where I say there are pros and cons to each leveling system. And what really matters is that you decide to choose the system which is going to work better for you and your players. I imagine this is a subject of some debate, which is pretty exciting for me to cover, to be honest. So make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you would like to be kept up to date when new videos are released. Thanks, guys. Getting experience points as an idea has been around since the inception of D&D, and I know people who've been running D&D with experience points for 30 plus years. It is the traditional way of leveling, and it stands to be a less structured, I think it is pretty structured actually. It's a pretty structured system, but it's not as controllable from the Dungeon Master's point of view. With experience points, players have to actually think about what they can do to earn these points. Sure, it's a bit of a video game mentality, right? But what matters in all of this is what kind of desirable behavior you want your players to have. If you want your players to progress through the story you've made and complete major quests, I think Milestones is probably a better shot. But if you're looking to run something that's very sandbox heavy, where the players are able to take on a lot of side quests and kind of build their own, make their own adventures and things like that, experience points are really, really great. Whether that's for killing monsters or collecting treasure is really up to you. The experience system that you use will reflect the mentality that you want to define in your players. Everything that we use at our tables is there really to create structure and behavior from our players. I think the big complaint I hear about experience points whenever I'm looking at forums or chatting with people about it is that it can force players to focus on the things that they don't enjoy in order to level up. And I think, well, that's kind of true, but it's actually really up to the Dungeon Master to define what grants the players experience points. And discussions like this can easily take place in session 0, prior to the start of actual play. If killing monsters is the only way to gain experience, it may push players to be much more bloodthirsty and murder hobo-ish. Murder hobo-ish? That's already a word, isn't it? In order to maximise their gains. And this may not suit a group who are role-play heavy, as an example. And I've definitely had a couple of groups in the past who've been very, very role-play heavy. With experience points, I think one concern I hear is that there's a risk that there could be disparity between the levels of different player characters, creating issues with encounter balance as well as jealousy at the table. I'm curious whether you guys actually feel that way from a balancing and game perspective, if you actually think it's a bad thing for one of your players to be a level higher than somebody else, or maybe 2 levels higher than another player, or if you're really just concerned that your players are going to be bitching and complaining about it, because I'm really curious. So let me guys know. Let me know, guys, in the comment section. Because I mean, when player characters die in my campaigns, their next character is usually on a lower level, like a level or 2 below the rest of the characters, and my players are pretty used to that. And we play 5th edition, which is a system where the power level disparity between levels is pretty significant. The difference between a level 1 character and a level 3 character is 3 times as many hit points. You get new features and abilities, level 2 spells. There's quite a bit that you get, right? But it never really made a huge difference to gameplay, actually in my sessions, at least in my games, right? I think it would only really be an issue if the level difference was significant, a group of level 2s playing with a level 6. Although saying that, like, if the level 6 was called Gandalf, I probably wouldn't really mind too much, right? I think, you know, we obviously look at a lot of these fantasy stories as kind of reference for our campaigns, and if it works in Lord of the Rings, why can't it work in our D&D games? I don't know. I think the best thing about milestone leveling is just the convenience and the simplicity of it to run. It doesn't really require a lot of bookwork or math. You just decide kind of arbitrarily, in a way, when the players should level up. And I think that's probably why a lot of Dungeon Masters have been switching to it and just using it outright when they first start running. It's just a lot easier to keep on top of. The thing I do consider, however, is what defines an objective as worth rewarding with a level up. Is it worth your players engaging in side quests and content? Well, you know, I allow side quests to progress my players towards their next level up. Like, maybe I'll get like a quarter of a level if they complete the side quest. I'll just kind of keep track of that in my head, or I'll write that down or something. And if you decide that you don't want to do that, you know, you can just make the rewards for side quests unique and different. So, like, in my campaigns, I use a fame system for gaining, like, fame and celebrity status. It's actually on my Patreon, guys. So if you want to gain access to that system and use it in your games, it works for pretty much any, you know, it's system agnostic. So you can use it in any TTRPG. And I actually reward players with fame for certain side quests that they wouldn't get any experience for. So, like, if they are destroying a hobgoblin encampment that has been attacking a nearby settlement, if they destroy it, they'll gain 5 fame points each, which is pretty cool, right? And that means that they can actually become more famous in the area. They can kind of gain more renown, and that fame can unlock doors that they wouldn't already have. I've got some ideas of actually making certain shops or certain guilds only accessible once they get over a certain fame score, which I think would be pretty, you know, pretty cool. I think this is the point of the video where I tell you guys I actually do use milestone leveling for my weekly games. But I've always been intrigued by the idea of actually running an experience points game, because I never really did. You know, I started playing like 10 years ago, and my original DM used experience points. But I just remember it being a bit annoying to keep track of, at least from his point of view. But I like the idea of being able to reward players for handling role-play situations well, or for coming up with creative solutions to a problem. Using experience as a way to influence and reward various types of behavior is something that's very, very intriguing to me as a Dungeon Master. And I think it works a lot better than just giving your players inspiration dice, you know, which I feel like can be quite a strong mechanic. And there are lots of times where you want to give your player an inspiration dice, but they already have one, and it's kind of like, well, what's the point? Does that make any sense? And I feel like this feeling has become more apparent to me since I started running Shadow Dark. And if you guys haven't checked out my Shadow Dark videos, you should obviously watch them. They're really, really good. And I've been doing some live streams. I did one recently. Hasn't really got a lot of views on the channel, but it's actually a really good one-shot. So if you're interested in checking that out, I'll have a pop-up on the screen for you guys. And Shadow Dark, it uses like a treasure to experience system for play. The more treasure you find, the more experience you gain once you kind of like leave the dungeon and get back to town. And what's cool about this is that it gives your players kind of alternative play styles in order to do well. They don't have to brute force or fight every encounter. They could try to reason with the enemy, sneak past them, or, you know, mislead them, or one of the other many things that they could probably do. And to be fair, you know, you can do that with milestones in terms of, you know, different play styles without all the extra steps. But I think it's a bit of a toss-up, really, you know? I think the main thing that I like about experience points is that I can reward my players with experience for any reason. That's just something you can't do with milestones. It's another incentive tool, and I think it's great to give your players incentives whenever you can. The big question is, are you happy to go to the effort to calculate experience points for every situation that merits it? I think that's one of the big things that stops people from wanting to use experience and keeps them using milestones. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about the experience points versus milestones discussion / debate. And obviously, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time on Loki's Lair. Until then.